well, we have spent the last, 4 months in New Testament. So I was thinking, God, if you could lead me to something in the Old Testament, and God brings me to Proverbs. It's very interesting. Proverbs has 31 chapters. Chapter 1 speaks about mothers. And the last chapter of Proverbs 31 also speaks about mothers. So there's something in Proverbs that lead us towards mother. Okay, I know, Pastor, why Happy Mother's Day? Well, Mother's Day will be for next Sunday. I was trying to prepare just one message for Mother's Day, but I cannot simply put it into a 30-minute sermon. I just have to extend it. So we'll have to extend Mother's Day celebration until next Saturday. So this message, really, I just entitled Happy Mother's Day, Proverbs 1:1-10. The book of Proverbs begins the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To those who have been familiar with the Bible, he was a great king, the son of a great king. It's really a royalty. That means that he was famous, powerful, supreme in all the realm. People bow in his presence. They did what he said. He had immense authority and honor. Okay. I think I have said this once, and I would like to repeat this because repetition is really good. If there's one person who ever lived who is the wisest of all human beings, not Einstein, not Rockefeller, there's one human being who really lived and is the wisest, the most intelligent person in the entire human history, and that will be Solomon. Solomon was the king of Israel. He took the reign from his father David. His mother was Bathsheba. Now, Solomon, with all of his power, and glory, and intelligence, and all of the wealth, speaks about his mother. Now, how did King Solomon, being the king, how did he treat his mother, Bathsheba? He is the king. Yes, he owns almost half of the wealth back in those days. Now, there is a short segment in 1 Kings I'd like to read. Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him. Adonijah and the king arose to meet her, bowed, I repeat. Solomon bowed before her and sat on his throne. And he had the throne set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right. Then they had conversation. He rose for her, he bowed to her, and he called for her throne to put aside, and they had a conversation. She was his mother. Even kings, I repeat, even kings should stoop when their mothers enter the room. If there's one thing that we could find about Solomon is he's the most powerful person back then. He's the most wealthiest person back then. He is the most intelligent person back then. But then when his mother comes, the Bible speaks that Solomon treated his mother with respect, because instead of the mother bowing before the king, Solomon bowed before her. And no one sits beside the king. Solomon needs no counselor because he's so wise, but then he asked for a chair for his mother, and then they had a conversation. I think that short verse alone speaks about how we should treat our mothers. No matter what we've achieved in life, no matter how we have become or journeyed in our Christian faith, I think it speaks a lot about Solomon. Let me go to verse 7. It says here, there are at least 6 things it tells us in Proverbs. They all relate to God. It is very practical. Verse 7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Listen, my son, to your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. I will go into detail later. Listen, my son, to your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. 6 things I would like for us to remember when it comes to this passage, verses 7, 8, and 9. First thing we have to remember is the origin of family. The family of God. The family is God's idea, and it is for God's glory. I repeat, family is God's idea, and is for God's glory. Families are God's idea. Families are God's plan. Family is God's way. They are not arbitrary evolutionary developments based on instincts. The family is ordained by God. So, if you're sitting in your family right now, there's one thing we have to remember. Your family, where you belong right now, is ordained by God. It is not an accident that you have this son or you have that daughter. No. No matter what kind of tumultuous history you had, I personally believe that the family we have right now is ordained, anointed, and planned by God. So there's no such thing as, we were planning on having just 2 kids and now we have 3 kids by accident. There's no such thing as by accident. It is ordained right before the beginning of time that you would have this daughter, that you would have this son. That is the plan of God. So whether it be blended family, whether it be biological family, whatever kind of family that you have right now, it is coming from God. So why do I have 2 kids and why I only have 3 kids? Why I have 1 son? Why? All of these things you might be asking the question why. The only answer is God planned it. Okay? And to those who doesn't have a kid or a son or a daughter, guess what? God planned it. Origin of family begins and ends with God. So stop thinking, I wish my son is different, or I wish my daughter was like that. If you question these things, you are questioning the Almighty God. Because we have to believe that the family you have, blended, biological, mix, whatever it is really ordained by God. Now, second, aside from family coming from God, the family is a school. I repeat, the family as a school. The family of God is God's basic school for instructing children on how to live in the world. God ordained the family not just to be fruitful and to fill the earth with people, but to fill the earth with instructed people and taught. The family is the place where the next generation is born and where the next generation learns to live. The family is a school. Oh, Pastor. That's the first time I've heard. Well, family is a school. When children are born into our families, there are a lot of natural things. When there's too much light, the baby eye closes. You don't have to teach it that. When there's too much light, even in the baby, the eyes of the baby will just close because it's instinct. If there's too much light, they just close their eyes. If they're hungry, they cry. Now, a lot of things are instinct, but aside from that, most most of the things that a kid, those are learned. The way they stand, the way they walk, these are the things they learn. This is not instinct. This is something that they learn. So, just like a school, the family should learn how to teach our kids. You don't depend on schools. You don't depend. Well, I know for those algebra and biology. Yes. Well, yeah. The school should teach our kids, but the things about life itself, about respect, about saying yes, saying no, the things that we're supposed to be showing respect, these are the things that we should teach our kids in the family. These are the things, what I said, learn in the family. So family is a place of school. Also, third, the foundation of family instructions is the fear of the Lord. Why are we teaching our kids to be respectful? Why are we teaching our kids to say yes to good things, to say no to bad things? Why are we doing such things? And all of these things, the foundation really is the fear of God. Because one day, parents, whether you like it or not, you will be accountable to what God has given you, and that is your calling. You will stand before God and how did you raise up your kid? Is it in the fear of the Lord? The question, church, that we should always be asking is, we are doing these things because of the fear of God. I don't want my son to grow up rude and disrespectful. The bottom line in all of these things is because the fear of God. Every instructions that we share to our kids, everything that we do to our children, is really bottom line is fear of God. Fear of God. It is something that that should draw us closer to God because of the fear of God. Why are we doing such things? When nobody's looking around and we could go away with it, why do we keep on being honest? It's because of the fear of God. Or why are when we are so tempted to do such horrible things and we stop? Did you ask the question, why did we stop? Fear of God. A lot of things, church, really boils down to the fear of God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, if we asked, what's the basis and beginning and interpreting theme of the Father's instruction and Mother's teachings, the answer is the fear of the Lord. Family is where all of this and more begins. We are guided by God's word and is shown to be for the glory of God. The fear of God, the reverencing God, the standing in awe of God, the trusting of God is what families are for. So family, the origin of family really is from God. So, second, family is school. You teach them ways of God. And the underlying reason that why we are teaching our kids is because of the fear of God. Not because of anything else, but the fear of God. Number 4, fathers and mothers share the responsibility of family instruction. I repeat, father and mother share the responsibility of family instructions. I admire single mother and single father because they have double responsibility. Fathers and mothers, raising up Jacob between Lisa and myself is really very tough. And I couldn't even imagine single moms, single dad, raising up kids. It's much tougher because it was not by God's design to raise a kid with just one parent. God designed father and mother, because all of the instructions are in the Bible is really father and mother. So the original intention of God was really to have a father and a mother in the family. But for one reason or another, there are single moms and single dads who are raising up families. And that is all by the grace of God. By the grace of God. Hear, my son, your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teachings. It does not say fathers instruct and mothers change diapers. No. Instructions and teachings should be coming from both the mother and the father. Number 5, sons and daughters to be submissive. Oh, eto na. Sons and daughters are to be submissive to their mothers and fathers. Whew. I know this is not politically correct. This is against our culture, and this is sons and daughters to be submissive to their mothers. But that is exactly what Proverbs 7, 8, and 9 says. Kids, okay, I'm 52. There's one thing I've learned in 52 years. Mothers are always right. Kids, you can either learn it the hard way, or definitely you are going to learn it anyway. Either you learn it the hard way, or you could learn it the biblical way. It's really your choice. But at the bottom line, you will learn it. Remember the story with, hey, do not play fire. When you see a fire in the oven, close it. Do not touch it. It will burn your hands. What do we do? Oh, nice. Nice, really nice. And then you touch it, and then what happens? You burn your hands. Oh, you learn that. Oh, you learn it painfully. I know that's a simple instruction. That is simple object lesson, but that is very true in our entire life. Oh, definitely you will learn, but either you will learn it the hard way or you learn it the biblical way. The reason why there are mothers and fathers is for you to be guided. I know there are some mothers and fathers who are really overboard. I mean, there's some fathers that are really overboard. I don't know, there was just a side note here. There was this one contestant, David in The Voice. Is it The Voice or American Got Talent? David Archuleta. Yeah, that one? Archuleta. I don't know if you've heard the story, but when he was still trying out with American Got Talent, the father, I don't know if you heard the story, but this was all over the news. America Got Talent already paid for David's song. And you have to remember, for every song they sing on TV, they have to pay a royalty. It's not cheap, it's not free. So every song that they use on national TV, they have to pay royalty for that. And you know what happened? David's father was so overboard that he changed some of the lyrics of the songs and get it from another song. So American Got Talent ended up paying royalties for 2 songs. And that was the news. I know there are parents who tend to be overboard, but it doesn't give us the reason to disrespect our parents. So much more the reason not to submit to our parents. Kids, learn to be submissive to your mothers and to your fathers. These commandments warn against the temptations of rebellion. I repeat. God instructed us to submit to our parents, to submit to our mother and father, because that will guard our hearts against rebellion. And you know what rebellion is? Rebellion is rebellion against God. A lot of these things, rebellion really is really against God. I don't want God telling me what I want to do, and that is rebellion. Now, it doesn't start that way immediately. It started with a little rebellion in the house. And this grow and grow and grow until it becomes a full rebellion. Anything, I don't want to do anything with my dad. I don't want to do anything with my mother. And that is a full-blown rebellion. Church, kids, sons and daughters, learn to be submissive to your mother. Pastor, I'm already grown up, but I still have a curfew. I have to be home by midnight. I'm already 22. I don't care if you're 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I don't care even if you're 35 years old. If you still stays in your mother's and father's house, their rules supreme. Okay? I repeat. You want to be independent? You don't want to go home after midnight? Get your own place. But as long as you live in your father's and mother's house, Pastor, I'm already 36 years old. I don't care. Where do you live? In my mom? The mothers and the fathers rules supreme. Okay? Learn to be submissive. Well, that's already very far off. But I just want to make sure, church, that we learn to submit to our parents. You know what? When you kids reach our age, you will definitely understand, oh, my mother is correct. Oh, my father is correct. We are just passing on through the next generation the experiences, the wisdom that we have learned. Some of us learn the hard way. And we don't want our kids to learn it the hard way. That's why we are guiding you. We are not anti-happy, anti-joy. No, we're not. Learn to be submissive. And this is the next best thing. God ordains reward of sons and daughters. If you submit, there will always be rewards. There will be a garland, verse 9, there will be a garland of grace to your head and a chain to adorn your neck. God always makes sure that you are always rewarded of your submission. Okay, so in application, let me just go through this. In application, correction and instructions are necessary. I repeat, correction and instructions are necessary. Correction instructions give confidence to our children. Correction instructions prepare them for life on their own. Many children grow up not knowing how to handle the rigors of adult life because parents thought that it's more important to do things for them than to take the time to teach them to do things for themselves. I repeat, we teach the kids so they will learn it by themselves. Correction and instructions are necessary. Number 2, do not push your child into too many activities. My daughter is into ballet, and after that she goes to a soccer practice, and after that she plays the piano at night. My goodness. Proverbs says there is a time for everything. There's a time for winter, a time for summer, a time for fall. So what is that teaching us? There is a time for everything. Do not push your children into too many activities. So many kids today are pushed to excel and exceed and be involved in so many activities that they grow up as imbalanced as their parents are. Overextended and worked to death. They're less well-adjusted and frankly less happy. They're lonely, emotionally neglected, and burnt out at young age. What is the number one cause of death among kids today in America? Suicide. Number 1. And it's rising and rising and rising. You know what? Because they are overextending themselves. Overextending themselves. You just saw that your kid swims very fast, and what's next? The first thing that comes to our mind, oh, my son is an Olympic potential swimmer. You just saw your son swim very fast, and all of a sudden you are doing, wow, wow, wow. My son will be the next Michael, what's his name? Michael Phelps. Yeah? He just saw your son swim so fast, and you thought that you... And do not push a child. There is a way to nurture a child. Please don't push. Don't push. There is a season for everything. Give your child, do not be your child's best friend. Okay, ito, like I always hear that, I'm my child's best friend. Do not be your child's best friend. You are not your child's best friend because you are your child's mother or your child's father. Solomon was like every other parent. He wanted his children to love him, but he knew that his love for his children meant that sometimes he had to man the unpleasant role of disciplinarian and not best friend. The Bible is not saying it's not okay to be friends with your kids, but they need to step up and be something more. You are not your child's best friend. I repeat, you are not your child's best friend. Your child step out of bounds, we call their attention, put it back, be disciplined if they need to be disciplined. Pastor, but my kids are all grown up. The only way I could relate to my kids is to be their friend. You know what? I've studied the Bible and I cannot find parents being a friend of their kids. You have a much higher role than being a friend. Much, much higher. I don't know if you've heard the stories. Why did you do that? Because all of my friends were doing it, Dad. Why did you do that? Are you not thinking? Everybody's doing it. If you're a friend, you will do it. But I am not your friend. I'm your dad. And I'm your mom. Church, remember, do not be your child's best friend. Give your child structure. Structure. Children learn internal structure by first experiencing external structure. Parents discipline their children as the foundation of them one day being able to discipline themselves. Children need to learn sooner rather than later that life isn't full of yes. Build your child esteem without making them think that they are the center of the universe, because they are not. Kids, sometimes you think you are the center of the universe, especially if you're the only kid in the family. Every attention is drawn upon you. Everything is on you. And you think that you are the center of the universe. But let me just pop up your bubble. You're not. You're not. Life will go on even without your thinking that you are the center of the universe. It will be much easier for our kids to accept that while they are still in the home in their families, rather than for them to find out later when they are out of the family. Give your child structure. And last, do not expect your child to fulfill the parents' dreams. I repeat, do not expect our kid to fulfill the parents' dreams. There are advantages of being young, that you don't have much when you are old and vice versa. Every age group has its unique advantages. Older folks have more experiences and hence more wisdom than the young. Therefore, parents should let their children fulfill their own dreams, or better yet, fulfill what God has laid out for their lives instead of us trying to live their lives through their children. I repeat, parents, hands off. Hands off on your children's dreams. Do not impose. If you're a frustrated ballerina when you were young, huh? And then all of a sudden you have a daughter and you, 3 years old, enrolled in a ballerina school, all of these things, ballet, all of these things, because that is fulfilling your dreams. Church, hands off. Do not expect your child to fulfill your dreams. I was an engineer. Oh, of course, my son will be an engineer. Oh, I was this. Hey, forget about that. You seek the Lord's will. Seek the Lord's will. And I think how do I close all of these things? How do I close? I was thinking of a story, but then all of a sudden, I saw Jacob, Elena's son, gave. I'm just so glad that I saw Jacob sing in the church this month for the first time. So glad. Because I was there, I was in the hospital with Elena when she gave birth to my twins. 2 beautiful babies. One was Joseph, one was Jacob. The only problem was she gave birth to a premature baby. We were at Kaiser here praying for these 2 twin boys. They were premature. I think they will only weigh 1 pound. And the doctors said it's impossible for them to make this thing. 1 pound, do you know what 1 pound is? That's how they weigh. 1 pound Jacob and 1 pound Joseph. And they were there at the natal intensive care unit for, 4 months. And we were praying, visiting. Joseph didn't make it. A few weeks after the birth, Joseph died. But Jacob lives. The reason why I'm telling this story is because you cannot even imagine this little boy was born 1 pound. And it's all by the miracle of God. You see, God ordained family. We may not expect it the way it is, but we just have to look by the eyes of faith that God has a wonderful plan. God, I may not know why it happened, or why is this, but by the eyes of faith, we could believe in our hearts that God has a wonderful plan, not only for our family, not only for our kids, but for our entire community. And all God's people